struggle to edit stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome back to the Time to Grow Up Dad podcast with your host, Chong. And today I have the pleasure on a Saturday, because apparently this is usually the time that most parents have free time, not during the week, to speak to Naomi. Tell us a little bit more about yourself, like what you do, how old are your kids, and yeah, what do you do
Sure.
for work?
So, my name's Naomi Page. I have launched Naomi Page Fitness, my personal training business.
Woohoo.
Um, so, I am a mum of one. I have a boy who's 6.5. I'm a single parent. I work full time as a medical receptionist, and then I have my PT business on the side. I'm also a strength athlete and compete in powerlifting. So my life is very busy, and yeah, I'm always on the path to finding balance.
Yeah, yeah. That's always the struggle there, I feel like. Um, I was actually thinking about this a couple of days ago where prior to kids, you can kind of almost get away with balance.
Yes,
It kind of feels a little bit more balanced.
yes,
And in the moment kids come along or kids come along, balance doesn't, like, it's always a mission to kind of look for it, but it never
yes,
seems like it's achievable for the most part.
yes.
Do you think?
Yeah, definitely. Like balance is something I have probably, I think as a parent, and every parent is like this, you're always like battling to find balance, and it's different at different phases of raising your child. Like now my son is 6.5. It's a really nice age where I find I can get balance a bit better. He doesn't need as many naps. He's a bit more independent. He can sort his own snacks and entertain himself. So balance is a bit easier. Um, but I definitely have gone through phases where I haven't had balance. Haven't had balance in my parenting style or training. So I feel like now I've kind of learned some good skills in regards to balance and found a good kind of medium level to sit at. And you kind of just, I find with health and nutrition and everything in general, life in general, you scale up some areas of your life and scale down. And if you look at it like that, it makes it really easy. So my kind of goal with launching my business, training people, is I want to give a space where mums can train and enjoy training and not feel guilty, and have a space for their kids to play. So I have a playroom attached to my little gym setup. So
I
yeah,
saw that
yeah,
on your page. I thought that was really cool.
yeah, because I'm in an area. I'm based in Hamilton, New Zealand, but there are no kind of kid-friendly gyms or spaces. Like back in the day, gyms used to have creches. That doesn't seem to be a thing
Mm.
anymore. So your best bet as a parent is like going to a gym where your kid can sit in a chair on a device, if the gym will let you even do that. Um, so I wanted to create something where people can train and not feel guilty. Their kid is happy and entertained. Their child can be involved in the workout if they want to. I've got a little a kids bar, training bar. So my son like gets in the gym with me, and he'll do a few deadlifts or bicep curls or just like run around. But yeah, I think it's important to reduce barriers for mums and parents in general getting into fitness, because so much of our time is dedicated to our children and just life and getting through life. To be able to um, have create a space where it's for parents and for families and for kids, and you can enjoy training and still do it without the guilt, is like my aim. Like, I want everybody to feel um, happy with themselves, like physically, mentally. Training is a big part of that for me and for most people. So if I can give that to someone, like, it's my day's made.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm,
And just to sort of double back to what you said there initially as well, you mentioned, I guess, 9 to 5, 8 to 4. I don't know how
yeah.
medic. I assume that's sort of the general like hours for medical receptionist. And on top of that, obviously, you mentioned being a single mum plus starting up a new personal training business as well. I know, sort of. I think I don't even know where this was, but maybe it was off air or on air. We were talking about how your boy is a little bit older, a little bit more self sufficient. Oh, this was on air. Sorry, my brain, coffee. um, but it sounds like there's a lot. Like you're just juggling a lot.
Yeah.
And I know off air, this was off air for sure. We talked about your son obviously having the time of his life, and at this point of the recording, we're still having towards the end of the school holidays here in New Zealand. But how does that all sort of shape up when I suppose it's not school holidays? Because I know he will be
Yeah.
in school, which is fine, but that's a lot of things to juggle for a single parent.
Yeah.
And yeah, how do you? I know again you sort of mentioned balance. You got to scale up and scale down, but how do you manage all of that? That's a lot.
It is a lot, and sometimes it's too much. So I have to really be intentional with how I split my time and what I want to give to the people in my life and the people I'm trying to help as well. So um, for me, I am insanely organized and structured with how I split my time. So that helps a lot. But it's parenting is never a journey you do alone. So for me, I'm so fortunate. My mum comes and stays with me. I have my son half the time, so she'll come and stay with me a few nights a week um, to just help me out. And she can do school pickup and that sort of thing. Yeah, and we also, I also when my mum's here we get to do a gym session which is pretty cool, so um, it's
Oh, nice.
it's cool to be able to have that quality time with my mum and also train together, and my son trains with us, so it's yeah, it's definitely a balance. I have my mum who comes and stays with me. I've also got family around. Like, it's a big reason that I stay where I am because I've got like babysitters here, there, and everywhere if I need it. And um,
Yeah.
the great thing about my life now is my son has so much quality time with family, and he's really close to
Mm,
all my siblings, my aunts and uncles, my grandparents, so his great grandparents. It's an awesome opportunity that he gets to spend time with them, and one of the best advice I got, because I struggled with feeling guilty about leaving my son with family to go and train. But my coach said to me, quality time with family is never something to feel guilty about. Like, this is time for your son to build connections with people that he'll have in his life forever. So for me, that took away feeling guilty or that I wasn't spending time with him, because he like his opportunity to spend time with people that love him, and my family is like insanely fun and kid friendly and good at entertaining children. So which is partly where I get it from as well. I love kids, so um, definitely it's been a journey.
yeah. I did have a follow up question there, and I guess this is more of a is one of those like how should I approach this me personally? And so I know the phrase, and this is probably true 99% of the time, but it takes a village to raise a child. I think that's the
Mm,
phrase, or a baby or something like that. I find myself in a very peculiar position at times, less so with time management and whatnot, but kind of mentally with the whole idea of like, yeah, I get that, you know, it takes a village to raise a child, but kind of in my head, I don't know if this is a right or wrong way to think. This is because how my head functions. It's like I kind of feel a little bit guilty at times where I sort of am not able to look after so my what did we say, 19, 18 month old. I don't even know. This is bad.
Almost
So
two.
sometimes I feel guilty. Yeah, almost two, almost two. So sometimes I feel guilty because like, yes, of course, grandparents, and he spends time with them and it's awesome. In-laws and all that good stuff. But sometimes I feel like, oh, like I I should be doing more, and this is a conversation I've had with people publicly and in private with other people as well. How what would your advice be to me in that regard?
Yeah, I guess the question would be more of what. But for
Mm,
me, one thing which I found really helpful as a parent and trying to prioritize or find out how I was going to structure my life is sit down and write down your values. What are your top 5 values in your life? And if you're it helps you make decisions on where you want to split your time and what is priority. So for me, my son is always number one. He comes before training, he comes before work, he comes before, um, even social time. He's number one. If he needs me, that's I'm there. But training for me and family are 2 other values which are really high on my list as well. Um, so for me, doing that exercise of writing down my top 5, top 3 values, it makes decisions easy. And like I said, with that scaling of your time, sometimes you might have a value where you're like, I don't feel good. Why is it I'm not meeting that value? And how can I meet that value better? So writing it down gives you a good thing to refer back to and structure your time.
mm,
But also, it's like more of what? Do you want to give your child more of your time, more of your energy, um, more physical affection, for example? Like, what is it that you're missing and want to give? And how can you
mm,
create space in your life so you have more to give to your child from that area? Because you don't want to be so gassed from training that you don't have the energy to play with your child. Or so then it's like, well, training might have to like be dialed down so I can have more energy to give. Or I might not need to do a cut because I want to feel fueled and energetic and be able to give my child more of my energy. So I think that's a really good way to like look at it. What are your values? What do you think
mm,
you're missing? And what can you scale up or scale down in your life to meet that? And the great thing is with having the concept of scaling up and scaling down these levers in your life is that like you can do that forever. Like where your child's at now will change as they grow. So also part of it is accepting like where you are in your current situation and just working with where you are now. Because sometimes parenting is, well, a lot of the time when they're little, parenting is so hard and it's so
yeah, yeah.
exhausting, and and like it's the best thing and the worst thing to happen to you is what I tell people. Like, you don't understand until you do it. It's like you love this human so much, but equally, it's like, oh, I'm so tired and drained. Like, I am just existing for this little human right now. Um, so yeah, I guess that would be kind of my advice around that.
Yeah. It's yeah. I'll definitely take that on board, and
And be,
somewhat of a. Oh, you go.
and be kind to yourself, I was gonna say. Like
Mhm.
most parent, like as a parent, you're trying your best and you're trying your best with what you have. So, like most parents, I think in general are not bad parents. Also, what society
I hope so.
yeah, yeah. Like like most people are trying their best and you can get tools and have processes to help make it easier and let you give more. Um, but I reckon it's like you can't really do it the wrong way. Like you just learn and adapt, and like parenting is so different now from when we were kids. It's like if you think of it that way and what you're giving now versus what your parents gave, like chances are you're giving way more than your parents gave. So you're doing okay.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And to on that point too, as a bit of a not really a tangent, but I guess it's kind of more of a I can't even pick my words, but I guess it will be a slight tangent. But I know spending time's obviously every parent loves to spend time with their kids, and I think like regardless of how tired you are, or how not tired you are, I think most parents would agree, hey, spending time with your kids is great, particularly if you can spend time with them and not have stress of life kind of bog you
Yeah.
down while you're spending time. I think that's usually like the best time, right? Like you know how sometimes you
Yes.
spend time with your kids, but then like in the back of your mind, like that
Yes.
thing and then you catch yourself and then you're like, oh my god, like that's not right, or like not
Yes.
that it's wrong, but just like why am I should be spending.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I can see, at least from sort of your social media, is that your boy loves or is quite active
Mm,
for the most part. He's lifting stuff in the gym, and like you said, you obviously have a PT studio, and he kind of plays around with the kids bar as well.
mm.
How what would you say, especially working with mums who obviously have kids of their own too? How would you encourage kids, particularly, or maybe your own boy, to stay active, or was that something that he sort of just picked up along the way?
Yeah, like I mean, for me, like my personal opinion is kids like to be active by default. They learn to be sedentary. So
Mm,
so for me, like it's also thinking about your child and what strengths they can bring to the table or what will suit them. So first of all, I guess it's being an example. So if you want your kid to be active yourself. Find ways to be active with your child, whether it's like I take my son, he loves to ride his bike. I don't have a bike, so I'll run in front of him. Um, I hate cardio, but it's a little bit of cardio. I can add it. So it's like taking opportunities where you can to be active with your child, kicking a ball around. Um, with my son, actually, I wanted to do like a bedtime wind down thing. So I started doing yoga with him in the evenings, and
oh,
I've got a deck of yoga cards. When he was really little, he was probably maybe 3. They were doing no, he would have been older because he was in school. Like maybe he would have been 5
4,
or
5.
4, 5. We started. I had a deck of yoga cards, and I'd be like, okay, pick 3, and we can do them together. So we just spend like 5 minutes. He would choose the cards, and then we'd try and like do the exercises together. Um, so just little things like that and making it fun. So um, yeah, I think kids love to be active, but it's if you want your child to be active, be the example, take the opportunities where you can, but also, like I said at the start, finding something that your child will enjoy that suits them. So with my son, he is very tall for his age and very, like, he's a solid kid. He's 5 and he wears size 10 and older clothing.
Oh
Like,
wow.
he's at,
Oh wow.
like, even when he was born, he was like in the 98th percentile.
Woo.
But he will be tall because I'm the shortest.
That would have been hard on you when he was born. That was a
Oh,
big
it
baby.
was. I had surgery, so it was,
Yeah, still.
yeah, and an
I
epidural.
mean, that
But yeah,
still like through the last couple months, that
oh,
would have been. Oh,
pregnancy was rough because he was so heavy, and the midwife was like, "This is all baby," and my stomach was like, I was huge.
yeah. Oh
Um,
yeah, 98.
so yeah, he's always been like a bigger kid and big for his age. So he also has flat feet, which is like a genetic thing that my dad and my brother are the same. And now I look at my son and I'm like, he walks exactly like them and has the same issue. So, which is quite funny, but he doesn't like running for that reason because it's harder for him because
Cool.
he's got more mass to move and he's got flat feet. So he's like, Mum, I don't like cross country. And the thing is with school, like most of the activities are running activities when it comes to
Yeah,
PE.
yeah.
So for me, like I have a like lean towards martial arts because I've done judo and MMA briefly, but I loved it and I knew my son would love it. And he got to the age where it's like he's climbing on me, like he wants to be quite like rough and tumble physical, and I'm like, I don't want this. Let's enroll you in judo. So
It's like you go tumble with other people,
yeah,
not me.
exactly. And he absolutely loved judo. And the thing is, it suits him because he's heavier. He can use his body weight in a way that
Yeah.
to his advantage. So I think that's important. Is like if you want your kid to be more active, be the example, but find something that really suits them. And it can be just trialing a whole bunch of different sports until they find that one thing that they love. But if you want
Mm.
to be smart about it, look at their body shape and what will suit them. Like I loved swimming growing up and I was a really good swimmer. But my parents enrolled me in it by default. Like I was swimming since I was really little. But I loved it and I realized as I was older, I'm like, oh, I loved it because I've got like massive shoulders and a big back and big feet, like a swimmer's physique. So, like, my parents didn't intentionally do that, but it just worked out that way. So now with my
Yeah.
son, I'm like, what sport is he going to lean towards or be good at? Um, just because I want him to enjoy it. So, yeah.
Mm. Yeah. I think enjoyment's definitely the key word there for sure.
Yeah,
And like if I feel like if they don't like to do something, it's hard to kind of. I mean, you could go down the route of like, you have to stick with it,
yes,
which is fair call. I guess like at some points you'd have to maybe have that
yeah,
conversation, but for the most part, you don't really want them hating something.
yeah. It's not worth putting your kid in something and they hate it. Like, just choose something else. There's so many options out there for kids, even when they're really little, like gymnastics or um, there's like a local gym that does parkour for kids. Like, there's
Oh,
there's
cool.
and they do there's obviously martial arts for kids, but there's so many like different options. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I guess that's how I see it anyway.
Yeah, that's yeah, it's definitely something for me to think about. I've got what another 5 years,
Mm,
6 years to
yeah,
consider, so I will take my time
yes.
and figure that out.
And honestly, you'll like try things and your kid won't really like enjoy it or take to it. Like I tried my son in gymnastics because they have like little kiddies gymnastics when they're like 3 and 4. And I was like, oh, cool, it'll be great for him to do that. And I tried it and he didn't really like it. He like jumped on the trampoline a couple times and then that was it. So I'm like, well, let's move on. This is not working.
Let's move on. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Well, you mentioned he's 6.5, and it's obviously been, unless if my math is wrong, 6.5 years. Well, a little
Yeah.
bit more being a mum. Usually, I'd say like, the moment you find out you're pregnant, at least for ladies, that's kind of that starting point already. So
Mm.
while he's technically 6.5, it's probably more like 7-ish. At least in my book. At least in my
I
book,
love
right?
that.
So yeah. So how what what are some struggles thus far being a mum? Um, yeah.
Yeah, I guess struggles, like I said before, like finding balance. But the biggest struggle, I think, particularly as a mum, is prioritizing yourself. Like, damn, that's hard. And especially when they're little, because,
Yeah.
I mean, there's a time in your life where, I mean, you kind of come second when they're really little. Like, it's just about keeping
Mm,
them alive and healthy. I reckon the first 3 months are the hardest, and then it starts to get easier and you find your groove. Um, but yeah, for me, like I've struggled with prioritizing myself, and a way for me to do that was actually going to the gym. Like I wasn't always active. I went through a period of probably like 3 years where I was just a casual gym goer prior to that, and then I went through 3 years of doing absolutely nothing, like no training, no walking, like I was a couch potato, and then I had my son. Um, so
mm,
I kind of had my son, and then I got to the point where it's like, do I want to be like this for the rest of my life? Like I was carrying a bit of extra body fat. I wasn't unhealthy, but I could have been healthier. My nutrition wasn't that good. Like I knew the tools and how to eat, but I wasn't doing it. So I kind of got to that point, and then I said, okay, I want to go to the gym, start getting more active. And the gym was a way for me to prioritize myself and take that small window of time and it just be for me. So I think that's really important as well. Um, it, and
mm.
yeah, that's probably what I would what I would do. Like I think it's great for any parent with my sessions for my clients. Like they're only half an hour, and if you do that once a week and do like a 20-minute at home workout, that's all you need. Like you do not need to train for hours in the gym. Like you can do very minimal training of quality exercises and work and get fantastic results body composition wise, health wise. Like the fitness industry has conned people into thinking they need to do way more and more is better, where it's kind of the opposite almost. Um, so I think if if parents are like struggling with balance and prioritizing themselves, like you can sacrifice a half an hour slot of 2 days a week to yourself. It's not a big commitment. So, yeah.
Yeah. And I think back to your sort of that initial point about prioritizing what are your life values and stuff like that too, and sort of tying that in with,
Mm,
and I think every mom, I would say every mum will experience this. Well, I'd say every mum. I think some dads too, but I think more mums than dads. To be fair, I think where you literally come second. Like
yeah.
there's no choice. You don't have a choice. You don't have a say. You are second,
Mm,
right? And kind of tying the whole value thing and coming second. I think it is important to your other point there as well with the whole fitness industry thing, right? Like you don't need a lot to stay healthy. Sure,
Mm.
you might not be bodybuilder, shredded, low body fat, strongest powerlifter in the world, fittest woman in the world situation. You probably won't get there,
Yeah.
but you're probably able to get healthy enough, which is important.
Mm.
But I think it's also that making time for yourself,
Yeah.
like even if it's just 30 minutes, and something that you're doing, which is quite cool. And I actually saw this in one of my local gyms as well, where if you have that opportunity to put your kid in the playroom and just there, like you are sort of still looking after them in a way, but then you're kind of also doing your thing.
Yeah.
I think that's something a lot of gyms should probably start to consider
Mm.
too, because it's well, I think from a gym perspective, it's good money because
Yes.
it's like, hey, like you can market the parents, right? It's
Yes.
like, hey, come on in.
Yes.
You don't believe a kid here. Every parent will want that for
Yes.
sure. And I swear to God, like that's probably why there's so many martial arts schools with so many kids and so little adults. Because all
Yeah.
the adults just send the kids there. It's like, hey, coach, like take my kid for an hour.
It's
I'm
like
not dealing with this shit.
for real, people when my son did judo would just like drop their kid off and gap it. And
Ah,
I'm just like
God,
I was like, don't you want to see what your kid's up to? Like I love
I am.
they just wanted a break.
Oh, sure, yeah, and it's funny because I speak to my head coach out in all of the MMA over here in Browns Bay, and he's literally that, right? Like all the parents literally like, see you in an hour,
Yeah.
and I don't know what they do, but I think like in to be fair, I think it's also one of those things where I can completely understand pre having a kid. I couldn't fathom that idea.
Yes.
To truth be told, like pre having a kid, like I couldn't understand that idea of like why would you not want to see your kid do
Yes.
whatever.
Yes.
Now I'm like, oh, mate, like I can't wait till you're 4 because the minimum age is 4. I'm like, you're
Yes.
going,
Yes.
you're going to kidney,
Yes.
you're going.
A
Yeah,
hundred
I need
percent.
some peace and quiet.
A hundred.
I need some peace and quiet.
Yeah. Oh, a hundred
Um,
percent. Like the struggle is
yeah,
real, and I think
yeah.
as I used to struggle with mum guilt a lot when my son was younger, but now I'm like, you see that doing those things, like getting your child into the gym when you train, just so you can get your workout in, whatever. Like now my son is able to like join in, and it's cool when you think this is going to be my child's normal. They're not going to be
Mm,
intimidated by the gym, intimidated by the weights room. Like working out's going to be a normal thing that everybody does, just like going for a walk is. Um, so I think, although like parents need a break, and I totally agree, like sometimes you just need that time, like for yourself. Um,
oh, straight up, yeah,
even if it's just to like get a coffee and just sit in silence in your car, like,
yeah.
like it's teaching your children values, and they
Mm.
are getting positive things from it, so equally don't feel bad about it.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm.
So 7+ years in, what has been something that your boy has taught you in a way, or like a bit another way to maybe frame it would be like a biggest lesson thus far into your parent journey? And I know I've spoken to a lot of guests, and obviously I reflect this a lot too. There's 1,001 things.
Yes,
But again, the keyword here is biggest, so surely it can only be one.
yes. I've thought about this, and my biggest lesson I've learned, which I think every parent should take with them, is confidence and resilience is taught. So
Mm.
I think some people have it innately in them. Like personality wise, I'm definitely one of those people that is naturally resilient. Um, I was actually born premature at 26 weeks. So I was like very unwell as a baby, and I got the record in the NICU for the amount of times I pulled my oxygen tube out of my nose because I was that determined to like get it out. So I think naturally you have resilience, but it can be taught, it can be fostered in the way that you parent, which my parents definitely did for me. And I'm very intentional with my son in doing that. Like, he is naturally resilient, and I see that, but I want to encourage that, build that, grow that, because looking at people today, there are so many unresilient people. Like, people do not have confidence and resilience, and there's so many self-help books out there about how to build it, how to grow it. Teach your children that. Teach them resilience, confidence, how to own the space they're in, and they're going to be set up for life. And I think that's a really, really big lesson that I've kind of learned coming into the parenting space, because I used to think that some people, you just had it or you didn't, but it's not true. You teach it. Um, so yeah.
Yeah. Follow up question: how would you, or what would you, how do you teach it?
Yeah, I guess it's having all those soft conversations. So for me, like, my son was getting bullied in school, which is insane at
Oh no.
6. He had two of his friends that were calling him fat. He is not fat, but he is tall and solid. And he's got, like, he said to me, he's like, Mum, I've got chubby cheeks. And I was like, I love your cheeks, by the way. Like, he has
Right,
a,
you're sick.
yeah, he has a baby face. But he was getting teased about that. And I kind of had a chat to him, and I was like, how does it make you feel? And he said, I'm used to it. It's okay. I still like playing with them. And that cut me deep, because no child should be used to being teased and called fat. So,
Mm.
um, so I said to him, I was like, Jacob, you shouldn't be used to it. You know, it's not okay for people to talk to you like that. And you know, it's not true. Like, you are strong and tall. And he said, and I said, and you lift weights, and you've got a bronze medal in judo. Like, so it was using the situations that you find in your day to day conversations to build that confidence. And so for me, it was like in that moment, reminding my son of all of his achievements. With resilience and confidence,
Mm.
it's looking at the proof that you have. And I think whenever my son comes to me with something, it's like reminding reminding him. Like adults, we have down days, and we need reminding that we are like achievers and confident and capable, and children are just the same. Like, so I think, yeah, that would be how I do it in just general conversation, and giving my son opportunities to be confident, do hard things, and in those moments saying, I'm so proud of you. Like, I know that was hard and you did it. Like, look at look
Mm.
at like look at what you've achieved, what you've created. Um, I think that's a big thing. And it's the same, I do the same with my clients actually. It's the same for adults. It's just the same. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
be their cheerleader and give them opportunity for growth.
yeah.
Mm,
I think a good, I can't remember. I've seen this somewhere, but I think to, not really to add, but to sort of maybe put that in a little corny quote as well, is like treat your kids how you want to treat like treat your kids as an adult.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. I think, like, children don't you don't need to dumb down concepts all of the time. Like they can deal with feelings and big issues. Obviously, there's a boundary and you know, within reason. But explaining something to your child in a way that they understand is like giving them power. So it makes them understand the world around them better and why someone might be acting a certain way and not taking it to heart. Um, yeah, I agree.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Well, and on that note, that's a really good way to end the episode today, Naomi. That definitely took away a lot of insights. Not that it's something I might apply now per se, because again, he's only 18, 19. He's not even two, but it's definitely something that'll sit with me. And yeah, particularly with like keeping them active and like as we just sort of talked about, like treating them as an adult. I think that's a very important point too. So, uh, thanks for coming on. I know that you run some coaching stuff on the side as well. Do you want to shout out where can people find you? How can people get help, particularly for parents, mums?
Yeah,
Fire away.
yeah, sure. So I'm on Instagram under Naomi Page underscore fitness and Facebook under Naomi Page. I have a website, naomipagefitness.com. If you want to have a look at what I offer, I do online coaching and in person, and have some blogging in there as well on parenting and some thoughts. So, yeah, I'm definitely down to talk to anyone, especially parents, about life and training. It's my passion. So hit me up.
There, let's go. Well, thanks a lot again for coming on. Hope you, dear listener, you enjoyed that conversation, and we will be back next week for another episode. So, yeah, thanks for coming on.
No worries. Bye.